Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing. After concluding a historic whirlwind tour in Latin America, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is now in New York for the annual UN General Assembly. These next few days will be especially crucial for Israel as Netanyahu will be meeting with leaders from all over the world, including President Trump, to offer a plan for amending or canceling the Iran nuclear deal. As we speak, the Prime Minister is preparing his address to the United Nations for Tuesday and outlining a proposal that he hopes will convince the White House to take the Iranian threat a little more seriously. Indeed, even during his tour of Latin America, the first ever of its kind from a sitting Prime Minister from Israel, Iran was the center of Netanyahu's focus in every meeting. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister will have his first one-on-one with Trump since May, a discussion that may be the turning point in the Trump administration's Middle East policy, especially with regards to the Iran deal. Netanyahu will present Trump with a clear plan for either significantly changing the Iran deal or offer an exit strategy for how to withdraw from it entirely. This week holds a number of other key meetings for Israel as well, including talks with Japan, Panama, and Rwanda. But for the second year in a row, one meeting will not be in the cards, and that's with Sweden. Netanyahu has reportedly refused an invitation to sit down with the Swedish Prime Minister, likely because of Sweden's recognition of a Palestinian state. Still, this week's itinerary is certainly a busy one for Netanyahu. Israeli officials are this week defending the image of White House National Security Advisor Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster. Articles from several supposed alt-right websites alleged last week that in a meeting with an Israeli delegation, McMaster was less than responsive to Israeli concerns. The allegations say that the Israeli delegation had brought up concerns over Hezbollah, the Lebanese terror group that proxies for Iran. Supposedly, during the meeting, McMaster insisted on inviting a supporter of the terror group to attend their meeting and publicly blew off their concerns, even yelling at the Israelis during the meeting. Well, the Israeli embassy is now publicly denying any such thing. Itai Bardov, the Israeli embassy spokesman in Washington, said that not only were the allegations false, but that Israel values General McMaster's efforts to strengthen Israel-US relations. The accusations against Security Advisor McMaster are said to stem from a larger effort to delegitimize the official and attempt to establish him as a hostile to Israel. Israel, in the meantime, continues to say that nothing in the reports could be further from the truth. Reports have been tiptoeing around this for weeks now, but it looks like the speculation has just been confirmed. In a groundbreaking shakeup, Hamas has announced that it will dismantle its administration in Gaza and reopen elections there, paving the way for unity talks with the Palestinian Authority. These promises come amidst heavy negotiations between Egypt and Hamas, as well as one of the worst humanitarian crises in Gaza since the terror group seized power. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas has been criticized for exploiting the crisis by cutting payments for electricity and medical aid to the Strip, making things worse in order to force Hamas to the negotiating table. Even Israel has been threatening to deduct money from payments to the PA and refunnel them to help the citizens of Gaza suffering in the middle. It's been nearly 10 years since Hamas wrested control of the Strip from Abbas's Fatah government, an especially problematic situation for the Palestinian president since any two-state solution would need to include Gaza as well. But now, and just days ahead of Abbas's meeting with President Trump at the UN Assembly to discuss a new peace plan, it looks like he'll be bringing new cards to the table. In what has now become known as the second in a two-pronged plan, Jewish Home Party leaders Education Minister Naftali Bennett and Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked have just presented their new constitutional revolution that they claim will restore proper separation of powers to the Israeli government. The first prong was the nationality bill, which would require state and court decisions to be made with Israel's Jewish character in mind. The second is this recently proposed amendment that would allow fewer Knesset votes to overrule court decisions. While many are opposed to the proposed legislation, Ministers Shaked and Bennett have claimed that it would bring much-needed balance to a system where the courts overrule legislation. Speaking to Israel's Channel 2 over the weekend, Shaked said, quote, "The overturning law essentially changes, to a degree, the dialogue between the Knesset and the courts. The question is really about whose word will be last and for how long. The question that has really been the bone of contention over the past few years is how many Knesset member votes will it take to overturn a decision, whether it's 61, 65, or 70. That was the range. We'll go to the heads of the different parties and present our arguments and see what the consensus of the coalition is." End quote. Yesterday, London police made their first arrest in connection to the train bombing that occurred Friday morning outside the Parsons Green station, and now they've just made their second. The first suspect is an 18-year-old man who was picked up near the port area of Dover and is believed to have placed the improvised explosive device on the train. According to a statement by Deputy Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu, this was a significant arrest that will lead to more activity from our officers. For strong investigative reasons, we will not be giving any more details on the man we arrested at this stage." End quote. Details are still scarce about the second arrest, though we know a 21-year-old was taken into custody in Hounslow in connection with the attack. Regarding the bomb itself, UK Home Secretary Amber Rudd said that there was no doubt that this was a serious IED, so we will have to make sure that we will take all steps we can to ensure that the materials that this man was able to collect become far more and more difficult to combine. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the blast that injured over a dozen people, 3 critically. That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.